pastry box and put some croissants and some popsies and some of those nice slippies. Yes, that's a rough interpretation of a lower Manhattan mobster. Not quite an OG. And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. And welcome to the TikTok world of your Sensie Owl Bob. Yes, we are on YouTube. Who knew? But here it is, another one of those beautiful days. And it's been pretty nippy and rainy. And now it's 61, right? Yesterday it was 48, so this is a lot nicer. Yes, yes, sirree, Bob. Anyway, so today Dick Cheney died, right? Long live the Prince. Um, there was a movie made about him called Vice. That was it was like almost Shakespearean. So go on whatever platform and look at that one of Dick, just for his today. But I mean, this guy, Dick Cheney, I never understood. Can anyone tell me there? Jay, can you tell me why anyone named Richard would call themselves Dick? Yeah, Dick Cheney, Dick Nixon, Richard Nixon, Dick Nixon, Richard Army, a Dick Army. Why were they dicks? Did they call themselves Dick? I'm a dick. I'm from the old country of the family of dicks. Right? Is that what they were saying? Good morning, evening, and a beautiful day. Yep, yep. It is. It's a beautiful day. So go see that movie, Dick Cheney. But I'll give you a little thumbs up about that boy. He had issues, right? And he didn't care. And the present, like, semi roughed up politics of the present administration is like really nothing. I mean, it really is South Park. Go watch the last how many shows before, what's his name? Downey Chump, the Garden Variety game show host. Look, boss the plane, boss the blind. What's his name? And Downey the Chump kicks him in the last episode. So those two are now suing, uh, you know, the channel it's on, South Park Boys, and good old Paramount. They just signed a deal with those boys for like $1.8 billion for another 3 years, and it's like that scene out of V. Everyone thinks England is still normal, even lockdowns, roadblocks. Anyway, and then all hell, because they have these shows on the telly that makes fun of this and that, but this one guy pushed it too far, and oops, been nice for him. Held for. Fantasy Island. Yeah, the boss played the applause, the plane, the boss. So Dick Cheney was started all of this, right? He did, he moved fast and broke things, right? And when he had a problem, he started a war. Yeah, you don't want to end this up in a mushroom cloud, right? So we go in there, and Halliburton, that Dick owns pretty much, he ran it in the ground for 10 years. And then he got a no-bid contract for Halliburton to build all the porta-johns in Iraq and Afghanistan. And it saved Halliburton. He made lots of money. That's all I can say. And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to your Dreamy Dreamland, Sensie Owl Bob, And so Donnie, he just, coveting Dick's thing. And Dick basically started out in a thing called, after the National Security Act in 1947, we had a thing basically was, the swamp, the underground government, the well, what's it called? There's a name for it, but it was there designed. If everyone in D.C. got wiped out, they'd have a cog, continuation of government, and that is 1947. We've had Hail Hydra running everything, and none of this stuff is national government. What's happening in America is happening everywhere. All the tariffs, the poor farm guys, they got double dutched. So Donnie does it, and it gets China out of its contracts. And so they go into places like Brazil for their grains. And then Donnie leans back. And what's truly freaking amazing, just days before Donnie went to South Korea and met with Xi, guys like Cargill and Monsanto and the other grain, the guys who buy it from the farmers and then sell it to the middleman who then sell it to the other middleman who then sell it to the people like General Mills who make something out of it, and then they send it on to another middleman who then sends it on to another middleman who then sends it to the supermarket who then sells it to you. So that's a lot of middlemen. So with the end of that crash, bam bash, the farmers had to sell last year's thing at not even the cost of putting it in the ground. And they sold it to all those people who then 4 days later make $1 trillion. And Donnie gets a cut, and the guy from the Treasury gets a cut, and the guy who runs the FDA gets a cut. That's how it works. And like I said, Donnie is just the symptom of the problem. What comes next? Because what comes next, if the people do not get involved, do not step up, do not become their own decider, well, and that guy who is running for mayor, right? What do you think? He's a superhero or the rest? No, he is the loyal opposition put there, just like Bernie is put there, to let off the steam and allow a new vision to appear, a new kind of government, just like FDR's was the Great Deal, the Great New Deal, No, basically all that was scripted because you could see it happening back in 1880 when we had our first big collapse of currency in the United States. And that's when we hit the biggest civil rush there ever was. So that depression caused that silver to go from $1 an ounce down to a penny an ounce, right? And then those same kind of red-flagged Rothschild folks buy it all up, and then it becomes, a couple of weeks later, it becomes even more valuable than ever. And they take that money and they buy the railroads that goes from east to west. And that was, in the 1880s. And then the technologies and the new, that thing, the new world, right? Or oh boy, we're really learning how to live now, Oh, please. And sustainability, we never had it. Wind, those big pinwheels, and solar panels everywhere. They're better. But how much, what's the carbon footprint of those things from the moment they took the materials out of the ground till they're manufactured and then shipped it all the way to the other side of the world to stick it in your backyard? And those big pinwheels aren't the most efficient. There are other designs that, there are things the shape of a barrel that you put on a stand 10 foot. And you put it in an area where the wind at the ground level is pretty strong. And all the vanes are around the barrel. And it blows, and if it's like a hurricane and it was going to destroy that thing, all those vanes would clap in and the wind would just go around the barrel. And that's from Mesopotamia. And Egypt, those big pyramids, right? They are energy devices, right? Go Google, pyramids, Giza, energy devices, because they didn't ever find any, any remains of a king, or it was not a burial site. It was a machine. You got a better picture of what it was if you go watch that movie Stargate with what's his name. The TV show was good too with MacGyver, but the first one, the movie, gives you because they had 90 minutes to put it all in one place. It was representative. Let's see. Oh, good morning, good evening. Hey, where you are? There's four of you. So, what's a good story to tell you? I told a friend of mine a story that he nearly lost his shit, right? Because he was complaining about a certain, not girlfriend, and not even wife, or not even mother-in-law, but someone in his life stream, within the family motif, that wasn't even his. Just every time oh God, oh my Lord, oh, it's gonna kill me. And you know what I mean, man? And so we're in the car, and we're Sunday, and we just left the church, and he's taking me out to have a meal because I have no wheels. And pretty much the Sunday meal, he takes me down to the Chinese place, and I do the buffet. He likes it too, but there's a whole nother story. But I'll tell you the story that I told him that made him lose his lunch, right? So we were talking about people that we knew, and we were talking about people we knew, and that they had issues with like substances. And I said, buddy, doesn't everyone have problems with substances? I mean, look at me. I had issues with Little Debbie. Anyway, so we talked a little more about that, and then I said, being what I am, and he goes, how come you never got into drugs and alcohol and bad things? I mean, you worked all this time in rock and roll and all these other kind of, like well-known environments for really indecent. I said, indecent? Yes, I can tell you an indecent story. So, bottom line about alcohol is I've only been drunk twice. And both times were such horrific motifs. That was John. He's sending me little things here that are, John, just come on, get on the show and join the, you'll be great on the chat here. Anyway, so 2 times I got drunk, right? So in my apartment in the Lower East Side, and boom, 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 boom. And there, open the door, and there's this woman I know who I've known. She sees herself as like the Che Guevara of the, Yento community. And, please. And she has a trust in everything. And she's, oh, but I'm living down here with it. Anyway, so, I know the art. Well, she, doesn't even know how to do her nails. She has to go in there. But she takes, back in the days of a welfare mom. Well, that was her, and she didn't even have kids. I mean, this girl, it was like not quite a female version of Donnie Chump, but close, right? Close. I'm sure her little ding-a-ling was bigger than his. But anyway. And why do those guys get so upset about sex? I mean, really, it's all sex is reproduction. We had 2 things going on. We have sex and gender. Sex is just reproduction. That's all it is. We're wired to do it, The other one, God told us to do it. You go forth and multiply, right? Sex. Other one is a thing called gender, right? And that is on a gradating scale. There is no box you can be put in. You're going to be a this or you're going to be a that. Your chromosome is this. And sorry, kids. No, it's a gradating scale, So, and the only reason to get upset with it is because everyone has like a They see something that is a little, oh my God, and it gets them under their skin because they want to do that. Ooh, they want to wear that thing. They want to do that thing. They want to. They want to. They are controlled by the seeing, not the eye. Oh my God. And it's supposed to be a Christian or a Jew or a Muslim. No, they are. Oh, that's what they are. That's what they are. They can't really get a hold on them unless you are a doula, right? A doula. What's a doula? Doula does everything that the midwife doesn't do. The doula is all in on bringing the new life of whatever, right? Into and will fall on the grenade to make sure that life is born, right? And so, because why is life so sacred when we, oh, get rid of abortion, blah, 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 sacred, 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 blah, blah, blah. And then, oh, baby's born, oh, who cares, let's cut the budget on the fetal, bins and, let's forget, throw the kid out the window, but do everything you can to not have an abortion, but throw the kid out the window. Every child left behind. Yep. So, anyway, there's this woman. Again, this gradating scale gendered entity. Who's like, you gotta come with me. My brother, he's got a very important job in the bank, and he wants to pay. He just bought a place in Hoboken, and the gang's here, and that's why I do. And you're a chef. You have a restaurant. They were kind of famous, and let's go. And it's like, no, if I just slammed the door on her, she'd like go find an axe and crash in and go, we gotta go. We gotta go to blah. And so, I kind of, and I don't feel well. Right? I have stayed up way too late, too many nights in a row, not take my vitamin C. I'm not feeling that good, right? And so I'm looking at her like this, like not quite this, but more like Anyway, so I say, okay, Johnny. I say, Johnny, if I do this, you really owe me like 10. 10 what? I said, when you do something for somebody. And it's all transactional. Like you, everything you do is transactional. There's no real goodness in your heart or whatever. It's Well, I'm all business. I'm it's all about me. Me. So why should I go? Because if you don't, I'll stay here and scream at you all forever. Okay. So you're going to pay for everything, right? I'm not going to have to take it. No, I got a car down waiting for us. Okay. I said, where are you going to get the food? She goes, I took everything out of my refrigerator and put it in the trunk of the car. I said, but Joni, you don't have electricity. Oh, yes, I do. No, I don't. I mean, it's just a box. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, man? Mm-hmm. Anyway, so we get in the car. It's like, 11 in the friggin' morning. We're driving, and we're at Canal Street. And so I get out of the car. Where you going? I said, I'm going to Chin's. I need some dim sum. So, I don't need that bitch, right? She got me out of my neighborhood. It was nice getting escorted out of the war zone. And so onto Canal Street. Right? And so I right out the door. So she right going slow, screaming somewhere, get back in the car, get back. And luckily for me, I kind of was just right at Tim's, and it goes downstairs. Anything in New York City's Chinatown with a restaurant, you go downstairs. That's the real deal. Up there, that's where the tourists go, but down there. So anyway, I go to my favorite, one, and it's, I can get whatever I want, because I'm the dude, right? So I walk in, and Mr. Chin says to me, oh, Al, you don't look too good. I said, yeah, you got something for that? And he goes, I think I do. And he basically gives me this little bottle with Chinese writing all over it. And for as well as I could read Chinese, because I dated Mr. Chin's brother-in-law's, his sister's daughter. And that's a whole nother story. But anyway, So I'm saying, and I'm looking at it, and I said, the only thing I can see, it says poison. He goes, well, it's not really poison. But what will happen is you go in the bathroom and you will take the seat up and you will take half of it and you will really feel like you're going to die. And then you will come to your knees and you will vomit into the porcelain throne. And then go wash your mouth out. And then take another little nip from that bottle. Not a lot, not like half like the other one, but just a little nip. And then, you know, you will really want to use the toilet. So put the seat down and empty your bowels. And then you'll be ready for Dimson. Just remember to wash your mouth out again. And so I do. And I go out there and I say, in boxes, this is to go. So they have buns. So there's these really sweet, almondy, fluffy, yummy pastry buns. And inside of it has pork and, the sweet, sour, and what's the other one? Savory. So the most savory thing you could friggin' imagine. And it's pork, and it's in that. And they have another one that's shrimp, and they have another one that's lobster, right? So those are amazing. And then they have the noodly stuff that has lots of stuff wrapped into it and steamed, right? So I got a box of the buns, a mixed bag, and I have some sweet ones too. Really sweet, like crunched up almonds and what's the Middle Eastern dates, right? And then kind of made into a paste and squirted in the middle. Ooh, baby, that's a good one. And they have these sauces too. So anyway, I get buns, sauces, and I get a couple boxes of the Dimson, and they make like motor oil coffee, right? And they have this other, like their own version of 7 Up, but, crank and methamphetamine and 7 Up. It's like, woo. So anyway, I get that. I get like a few bottles of that, and then one of an orange one, and I get in the car, and I started eating the buns. I said, here, Joni, have a bun. Oh, I hate that stuff. How can you like Chinese people? They're so stupid. I said, please, Joni, don't say that. Well, just because you dated that girl, and she wasn't that pretty. I mean, she was 6'2" and just had, and I want to get into bed with that. That was what that gender non-specific enemy was going on about. Anyway, so we're going along happily. I give one of the buns to the driver, and because it's one of those rental kind of thing. I mean, it's not quite a cab. They never had. It wasn't. It's like 30 years before Uber. It was like, I think they call them like town cars, right? Anyway, so we're going, down Canal into the tunnel. Woo, go into Hoboken. Woo, and I used to live in Hoboken, so I go, ooh, stop here, stop. And I get out, and that was right on MLK Boulevard, and on one side it's everybody's black, and on the other side it's everybody's Portuguese, right? And they have this stuff called tapas. So I kept saying, okay, Joni, give me 20 or give me 100, And if she said, I'm not giving you any money, I said, this is your dinner party, but you're eating the food now, So I go in there, and she has, like I said, this girl has a trust, So she, hands me a Benjamin, and I go in there, and I buy all these tapases, and I know the guy in there. Oh, Al, I haven't seen you in so long. I said, yep, I have to come back more. Because, the PATH train is right there. You still live in the West Village? I said, well, kind of, but not really. Anyway, so we talked a little bit, and his wife came out and gave me where's, oh, no. It was his music theater teacher in Newark that I taught at the Newark College of Engineering. She was at the high school, and basically we co-created culture together for about 2 years. And everybody so wanted us to be a FANG And we were a thing for 2 years, and that's, but they wanted us to make little things, and that's sex, right? So we were doing a lot of that, but I'm a well-scholared entity on reproduction and the human form, right? So if you don't want to get pregnant, it's really easy, right? Guys, you guys who don't want to get pregnant, if you're nuts, like it really is you got to get a blood test, and whether you're O or positive, I'm not quite sure, but one of them means your nuts, the boys, like it warm, and the other one means it likes it cold. So if your nuts like it cold, you wear tighty whities so they're toasty. If your boys like it warm, you wear boxers or no shorts at all. That's me. I'm always Congo. And so, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and wake up. Come on, wake up, wake up, wake up. Here it is, T minus who knows to the big splat. It's coming soon, though. Woo-wee, is it going to be fun? Because this election will probably be a mind-boggling. One way or the other, who ever knows? Like Donnie lies so much. He lies so much that he tells the truth. I'm going to go after because he did so much bad stuff in the first time around. And then with, January 6th, it was like he was heading for an orange suit, right? And all they get him on is some rinky-dink shit in New York City, and he gets, put on, and they talk about his teeny penis when, he stole, super top secret documents and was using them as wallpaper in his bathroom in Mar-a-Lago. Don't believe a word I say. Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland. And don't believe a word I say, because here, me, this guy right here, that's your Sensie Owl Bob. And he is a griot. What's a griot? Griot tells you a story that allows you to use your imagination. You kind of go into a state of relaxation where your conscious intent is all on your breath and opening up your mind and your heart specifically to let things in that are love. Love, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Love and co-creation, So anyway, that's kind of what sex is supposed to be. And anyway, that everyone in Newark in that year and 2 years that we lived down there, because her grandma and her two aunts were these holy. Did you ever see the movie The Blues Brothers? And they're putting a band back together, and there is who's the hardest working man in rock and roll? That guy, James Brown. They go to visit his church, and there are all these people singing, and the organs are playing, and there's these three grandmas on these Hammond B2s, and they're wailing, and then all of a sudden, off of a springboard comes this guy in a white tuxedo, black guy, flying through the air, woo, and boom, there it is, James Brown. Yeah! Well, that black queen, who was my girlfriend for 2 years, or a little more, a little less, the Angela Davis. I was going to say the Angela Lamberry of Newark. But anyway, that was her grandma and her aunts that had that church. And it was an old Masonic lodge. So it's this gigantic space, no columns whatsoever. You know those Masons. Know what I mean, man? Know what I mean? So that was her granny. And once I met this, because I was, in Newark College of Engineering, I ran the theater department. First year out, and the truth can massive energy wave. Yes. Yeah, the sun is taking a dump on us, as my friend would say. So, anyway, back to the gradating scale of gender. So we're in Newark. We're at there. I'm in the place, and we're having a great old time talking about old times, and say, "Oh, I'm going to come back." And how's Missy? That's a super amazing superhero woman. Her childhood name that kind of stuck was Missy, and the only time they changed it was when she got her PhD, so it was Dr. Missy. Anyway, so and man, she was like beyond a fox, meaning she wore these dresses that came up like mid of her thigh, and she had an afro like bigger than like, and it would bounce as she walked on these. She was about 5'8", but she had high heels like were 12 inches, and that you could hear her in snow. It would sound like anyway. So and the hair would bounce, and it was amazing to watch her beautiful face being totally still. Those curved part of her body just moving in synchronicity with ooh la la, and her hair bouncing. It was like, did you get that picture? I thought you would. Anyway, so there I am in the Portuguese thing, getting tapas and some other sweeties and some liquor. They have this stuff called copacabrinhas, right? And it's like rocket fuel and lemon jello, right? So anyway, I get that. I give them to Benjamin, and I say keep the change, and they say thank you. I get him the thing that will, and he comes out with a box and this, and he's remembered me with the Foxy and Foxy Missy, Dr. Foxy Missy, or Dr. Missy Foxy. However, he was that's his only memory with a woman, and then when the guy who's driving the car gets out and pops the trunk, and others, the guy goes, Chinese, meaning the Portuguese guy does. And I go, yeah, yeah, yeah. And anyway, so the window comes down, and you hear the ever-moving gendered scale. Wow, get your car! And, so this guy expects that woman or thing in the car to be as foxy as Dr. Foxy Missy, So he kind of says, are you afraid? And he nearly vomits in the window on top of her. Oh, my God. Oh, he gets back. He stumbles back. What is that? What is that? And I said, that is a gradating scale of gender. My God. I'm going to be shocked for life. I said, Dad, don't worry about it. I've been under 10 years. It won't kill you. It'll just give you you'll just have to buy more Tums, right? It took me 50 years to get over that. I no longer need Tums. Anyway, so get in the car. We go over to Brother's place. It's, again, really bad neighborhood, beautiful brownstone, right? And he's kind of across the street from a park that has people, dead with needles in their arm. But within 5 years, he bought this place for $36,000. And because he works in a bank, so he's in charge of mortgages. He sees what things are on the bank, and he has been borrowing money from the bank at the lowest rate there is, like, the overnight rate, like the bank was borrowing it, but he is. And he is buying up brownstones all over the place and things on the water, right, for nothing, because it's, Anyway, Newark, baby, but it was the crown jewel of economy in the 1880s. That's where all the insurance companies were. Newark. But you walk downtown Newark, and it's dead end. I don't know what it is now, but underneath it is the old Newark. They put steel and raised it up because it was cheaper than trying to do anything else. They had a lot of steel from the Civil War. Anyway, so... and this is a story about drunkenness. You've forgotten where we came from. We're in my friend's pickup truck. We're going towards the Chinese restaurant. We're about 20 minutes out, and I'm telling him this story, right, about, things that, like what sin is and what you might or might not be ashamed of, stuff like that, right? So I said, I have nothing to be ashamed of, and neither do you. That's why we are so far apart from when people see us together, they just can't believe it. But we're almost, mirrored images. You're a smart boy, and I'm a smart boy, and you've done some really amazing things, and people know that you've done it, but they don't give you. I mean, they give you respect because they were like, whoa. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. So anyway, so we were talking about that, and he says, well, what about drugs and alcohol? He goes, for all the stories you've told me of your involvement in culture and art and New York City and rock and roll and theater and movies, you'd think you'd be, dead. And I said, well, I just, I've had two experiences that weren't that, God is always taking care of me because the two times I got drunk, they were so amazingly god awful, and no one died, and my street cred was widened by what I did. So anyway, so we stop up, and she goes, "I'll call you when I need you, like an hour before we need to go." He goes, "Perfect." Right. So I got other calls. So he goes off and does that. He helps us take this stuff up the steps. Right. She has the key. We go in, and it's okay. I mean, it's obvious. So floors have been sanded. Paint has been stripped. New surfaces have been laid, and it's very clean and very nice, but not renovated to any. It's like kind of the nicest what it was 70 years ago. They kind of took it down to that, and everything was mahogany. So you take 20 layers of paint off an SRO, it looks pretty nice. So anyway, we go in the kitchen. The kitchen has a nice big Garland stove, a nice big refrigerator. I kind of dump everything in the refrigerator just for the moment because there was nothing in it. I kind of, look around. I start setting my place up. And that little bottle of stuff that I vomited and pooped, I feel okay. Not great, not better, but I don't feel as bad as I did. And she's not in there. She's like doing something else, right? I'm getting ready for the big party out there. Who knows? But anyway, I'm cooking away. And once I get everything set, I take myself and I get a little glass, like a highball glass, because they had a lot of glasses. They had some cutlery and dishes. Anyway, but I was going to serve everything on styrofoam, like when you go into a place and they put the rice on the bottom and the chicken on top, and then it kind of the styrofoam top locks in your bag. That's how I was going to serve everyone. Well, because she's really important, fancy people. The guy's the president of the bank that her brother works in, right? And they all come from Manhattan, so they're all being driven over. Anyway, and I think the car we had was just one of the banks, right? So anyway, I mean, Joni didn't pay for that. And I think the money that she was giving me, I think her brother, if I can scroll back in my memory, yes, he said, "Did you ever get that $1,000?" I said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I gave my sister 1,000 10 Benjamins to give you right off the bat to buy the stuff because I had nothing here, right?" I said, "Oh, really?" Because she really only gave me $300, right? She kept the rest. And I said, "Your sister, don't tell me, how much did she give you to buy the food?" I said, $300. She said that she was paying for the car. And he goes, "Nah." So anyway, he says, "Don't worry about it." I said, "I know, Larry, I don't worry about you, buddy." Anyway, so he goes off. I don't see him until later that night. And he says, "Oh, lemon jello." I said, "Yeah, I got 2 bottles." He said, No, don't take it. You want it, come and get it." And that's when I said, "Oh, look, highball glasses." So I took 1 ice cube. I put an ice tray in there because they had one. Water was pretty good. I put it in there. And look, ice within 30 minutes. So I drop 1 ice cube and 1 glass from one and the other. And then I fill it half lemon jello, right? And then I had the other stuff that I got from the Portuguese, the rocket fuel. And I put like 3 or 4 drops in there. And then I take a full spoon of sugar and mix it up and say, "Here you go." And he goes, "Wow, what is that?" I said, "That is the cocktail of the night. And knowing you would drink it all before the guests showed up. So no. That's what is known as a caipirinha. And ooh, baby, why do you think all those half-naked people dance on a beach that's covered in turds every year? Anyway, that's another story. So, I start getting down. I chop up a whole bunch of onions and throw them in a pot, and water and fast boil. Then I see that they got some really, because I don't know where these vegetables came from, but they were like bricks. But they also had one of those steam pressurizer cookers, right? So anyway, I kind of scraped all the crud off the veggies, and because that's the one thing I didn't quite get. And I did get some of that bok choy kind of lettucey stuff, and I got cream cheese. So I took the big part of the like lettucey celery thing without the strings, the bok choy part. I took that and I put it in the freezer, and I had whipped cream and paprika. Anyway, so I'm start making little hors d'oeuvres, and I'm taking out all the little boxes of stuff and seeing that. And this stove actually was a pretty good stove. I was going to bake anything, so I had flat pans, and so all the stuff that had to be hot, I kind of put it on the flat pans, and had the stove at like maybe 100. And it was great, perfect temperature just to keep those guys warm, especially those little buns, right? And let's see, what else did I do? So I started making onions down, the vegetables that were bricks, 20 minutes of that. Open it up, put it in. I had a gigantic, like 10-gallon thing, right? And the stuff that the gradating scale of gender had, she had bags and bags of the artificial kind of Alaska, the long arms of the crawdad. You pull them out, and anyway. She had like 20 pounds of that shit, right? So I was starting to make a roux that would turn into a bisque. And then I put all those make-believe lobster, manufactured pieces into that, and then turn it off. We bring it all to that bubble where it's really the greatest. Hit it with some little paprika and dill, put the lid on, and then move on to the next thing. And so I was preparing all the hors d'oeuvres, and I was still sick. And taking that crap kind of took the plug that was in me from really getting sick. So by this time, I'm at it. I'm about 5 o'clock. I've been fooling around doing this and that since 1, right? So it's about 5 o'clock. This guy rolls in. That's a guy I knew from SAG, and I said, "Buddy, how you doing?" He's like, he's like me. I belong to IBEW, to IATSE, and to NABE. One's the movie electrician, one's the theater electrician, the other is the real electrician. I had all three. Anyway, so he came in. I heard you're in here, and he said, "I brought some cheese," and he farted. It's that kind of guy. But he had one gigantic jug of real mobster red wine. Really, I don't know where he got it, but it was like more than a liter. Big, big, big bottle. He goes, "I brought 2. I got one out there for everybody else." Yeah. So I made him a cup of Capri and said, "Wow!" And then we started drinking on that. And once we got really pretty happy on the wine, he brought out the Hennessy, right? So, and he also had Captain Morgan's whatever. And he was making, because I like coffee, so he found that there was an urn, and he started making coffee, and there was nice coffee there, and so he's making big pots of coffee, and he's making Irish coffees. And he goes, "That's going to be the night." So he's becoming my assistant, right? So we're going along, and he brings out the pipe, and not for the crack, but for some bud, and so I'm smoking that, and I'm like really bent on the alcohol, and so breathing in the bud didn't make me cough. I just went deeper and deeper. So I was like at that point kind of hallucinating, and that's when the fever kicked in. Right, and the room was already 300 degrees, and so I'm running around, and so I take off my legs. For some reason seemed to be overly hot, so I kind of like took them off, and I was running around with a apron around my waist because I don't wear underpants. So, my bare bottoms out the back, and I'm wearing this, the kind of, cook apron around the neck, down the front, all the way down to the knees, tied at the waist. That's what I was wearing. I had a shirt too, and somewhere in there it got hot. So anyway, um, I took my shoes off, and I lost them, and I started like rummaging around the room because I kind of had everything cooked. I turned everything off or way, way, way down. And then I started to explore with the guy this place. He said, let's go take a look at this joint. So anyway, I'm walking around kind of barefoot. I had socks on. And I said, we went into this room, and it had all this clothes in it. And there were these really kind of fluffy, bunny Indian shoes, like on the inside real soft, and then the kind of rawhide on the outside, and it looked like two little bunnies. So anyway, I put those on, fit just right, and it had actually nice, like nothing could go through my foot. It had a nice, foot there, a sole, right? So anyway, we're looking around, and so I said, oh, gotta get, and the little bottle kind of caught up on me, and I vomited again atrociously, but not as good as when I was in the other guy's place, the Chinese guy's place, and so I got a little messy. But it was just one of the 12 bedrooms, so kind of in the back, and then I evacuated, as Coach Foot would say. So now I am totally tripping, drunk out of my mind, but I'm not feeling that bad. So, I'm semi-presentable, and I have really long hair, and that girlfriend at that time, and it wasn't the gradating scale gendered thing. It was, I think it was, yes, Jane Fire. Go look that up in the old Google. Jane Fire. She was a drummer of a women's punk band. Really better than any. I mean, they were a real band. They knew how to play. They could read music. They were all Jewish girls who took music their whole life. So, yeah, and a couple of those girls were were going to be cantors. Anyway, but so I had a clique of friends, female friends, who were all came from rabbis, who were wild, crazy girls with red hair. That's why she was Jane Fire, and talented like couldn't just. So that was fun. It was like having my own harem, right? And they were all not blood sisters, but they had been together since they were born, at the Jewish school for women. Anyway, but these girls were smart, well-read, and amazing musicians, and just didn't give a flaming frack about what people thought of them, right? So anyway, that's why they were my harem. So Jane was my woman, right? And I was her man. I was her woman. He was my man. Anyway, and the girls were just the family, the team, the cadre, and what a cadre were. We walk into any place and everyone would like. So anyway, so the girls had braided my hair, and one of the sisters was black, right? And so when I had a real black girlfriend, when I had Angela Davis' sister as my girlfriend in Newark, she would give me cornrows. Well, these girls couldn't do that, but they tried, and it looked, but it looked cool, because I was cool. I was the dude. I mean, it looked weird, but I mean, and I was like throwing food everywhere. So as they were, in the dreads, there was pieces of carrot and it was interesting. Little bits of vomit and diarrhea over here. Anyway, so because I did wipe my ass with the apron, the corner of the apron there, and it was all brown. So anyway, but the food smelled so good through the whole house. Once it got, yep, it's right. I opened up all the doors, from the kitchen to the hallway to the dining room to where everyone's going to be, and I kind of put out a nice tablecloth and put these, whatchamacallits, styrofoam boxes because I found them there. So anyway, I mean, there was a lot of weird stuff there. So I but very usable. And so I kind of where the gradating scale of gender was, I have no idea. And the her brother came in and he had some, and he said, so, okay, you need help with it? Yes. I said, you're going to be the garçon. You're going to serve everything. He goes, really? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you get all the credit for this, right? And I will come out. You do all of the ancillary stuff, the drinks, the cocktails, the cocktail food, the pre-appetizer appetizers. That's what you call it. The Portuguese food is. And then we sit everyone down, and then we give them a really whoop-de-doo zinger, one of those little coppa caprinas, and then we'll give them the red wine, and we'll go from there. And you and the other guy can serve the vegetables. I kind of made it into a salad. So that was the plan. So everyone's, and I said, what I want, but you're gonna bring out the hors d'oeuvres, right? And I found some really nice white, fruity, not sweet wine. It clears the palate, right? So get those nice little highball things. Had a lot of high and medium highball right there, and I put the white wine on the cooling, and so you crack a bottle, give everyone a little bit of that, make a toast. Gum, I'm going to keep putting things on this table here. You just keep, bringing a tray out and giving everyone little napkins to eat it with. And it's all finger food. I don't need a fork or knife, just, napkin, and here you go. So anyway, everyone's sitting around and everyone's talking, and my buddy with the red wine, he actually is a pretty good musician. So there's a stand-up piano there. He starts playing Brahms and Mozart, and like they're off, not known that things, and he's doing it real soft, right? With like a jazzy kind of thing, right? And it's all good, right? And then, so everything's going great. Brother's like, it looks like a French waiter, and he's serving all the, the president of the bank, the person of the, guy from the CFR, and so he is. Everyone's just loving this, right? So anyway, he brings. Everyone says, "Where's this food coming from?" Because he's like brought them this little finger food and that little finger food and the Chinese one and then the tapas and with little forks and what's this all? And the smell is so great. He goes, "Oh, let's go and see the chef." And like I said, I had this a couple of restaurants. They weren't mine. People who had the money, it was theirs. But I wired them, cleaned them, fixed them, brought all kinds of interesting things in there, and mostly cooked and bartended and everything. But I would get people. I would do those things as the place was opening, and I would find people that were just the right person, the right. And a number like the Ear Inn and Stone Soup and oh no, were 3 restaurants where I did all that food also on Spring and Worcester. Nice Jewish girls. They were part of the Jewish clan, and so no one can call me anti-Semitic. I went to be a rabbi. I went to in the United States the highest Lubavitcher in the United States, Rabbi Ratner's, number 3 in the pop charts, right? Meyer Kahane had to kiss that guy's ring. I mean, it's like the mob. I mean, but I was there, right? I was, and why was I there? Because I could read Greek, right? And I could understand the translation between Hebrew, Greek to English or whatever, right? Because it usually, our King James is like, but it is the Word of God because it was written by drunk monkeys on typewriters that didn't work, right? Anyway, so there I am in there, and my butt is exposed. I'm basically naked now, except for the apron, and the corner of it is like got diarrhea on it, and I got food all over me, and I'm pretty stoned out of my mind, and the the fever is now real. I emptied everything out of my body. So whatever toxin it was that was making me feel that way ain't there no more. But the fever is, and I'm at that like drunk, kind of totally manic, but really happy. And I love everyone. You know, the happy, loving drunk. That's totally wow. Right? So I'm totally naked and I have these bunny slippers on. And for some reason, I'm wearing a long silk scarf and I'm running around and my butt's hanging out. And the, never ending variant scale of gender brother brings everyone in because it was a big kitchen, right? It was a big kitchen, had a larder over there, and it had a cooking station over there, and it had a Hobart washing, one of those restaurant-y dish cleaning machines, and had a big table, like that's like where everyone ate when they didn't eat out there in the fancy room, right? So anyway, so there was only maybe under 20 people, somewhere between 15 and 20, never really counted, but just enough. And so they come in and everything's, and I have all these little cups. And so I just scoop little cups and here, what do you think of that taste? Wow, what is that lobster? I said, oh yeah. Oh, that must have cost a fortune. It was like rotting in the multiple variant genders, whatever she used for a refrigerator. But anyway, you put enough yummies on it, it tastes good. Anyway, so I gave him a little taste of that, and I gave him a little taste of this, and a little taste of that. And they hadn't quite had their, cup of caprinas yet, right? They had a little bit of lemon jello, but they didn't have a cup of caprini yet, right? So they had a little wine and maybe a little other alcohols. And so they come in, they have a little taste, and that's when I kind of have all those buns, right? So I cut them in half and put it on there, and I basically have the little bowls with Chinese dim sum in. Anyway, so I'm handing those out in little bits, right? Because I'm going to give, when they're sitting down, a more larger thing of that. Anyway, so, they're just like, it's blowing their minds. And I'm totally naked now, food in my dreads, and wearing bunny slippers, running around, and now the guy, my buddy, he's cotton off the piano. He has his penny whistle in his thing, and he's playing old conch kind of Irish songs, and it's like a movie, right? It's just the most amazing thing, right? So, and there's only two of you there to hear this amazing story. And good morning, good evening, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland. Come on, let's have somebody, sign up. We need more subscribers. We got to have more than 2 people, please. Come on. So anyway, so everyone's having a great time in the kitchen, and I said, okay, everyone, go sit down at the dining room table. And so they all kind of, because they're all standing, some people were sitting at that table, but they had been in there a good half hour. Everything was at its perfection. And they saw me going around tasting it. What do you giving them these little cups? How do you think that is, right? And so I had also gotten from the Chinese guy a lot of Chinese barbecue spare ribs. So that was going to be the protein, along with tofu, and then all these steamed up vegetables. But I mean, they were more like a paste. I made these pasty kind of things, and I don't know if you ever seen like croissant pastry, right? It's really good stuff. Meaning you can throw anything, wrap it up in it, put it on a flat pan, put it in there for 5 minutes, and bang, it's pretty amazing. So there were going to be a lot of those and all these vegetables and that and the bisque, the lobster bisques, right? And I kind of a salad. And so anyway, so I have the brother and my buddy with the penny whistle, and he's still kind of playing it, but he's taking things around, and when he's not taking it, he's playing the penny whistle. And I mean, this is like a performance piece, and that's what I was in New York City. I was a performance artist. I make these installations I perform in them. Now, the variant gendered creature of gender, she thought I was, because people knew me also as a chef, like a restaurant guy, right? Building these restaurants. And they were all like, woo. And that's when the foodie scene was starting. And that was the early 80s, right? Early mid 80s, right? And so, yeah, had to be that. If I was with Jane, that was what it was. So anyway, everything's going great, and everyone's having a great old time, and but the variant gendered creature, she's actually really upset because nothing's going the way she wanted to go. She's not the center of attention. No one's even paying any attention to. I brought him here. He's my friend. I brought him. This wouldn't happen without me. They just ignored her completely. Right? And then she was starting to drink, and she started to get, wow. And so, anyway, now by this time, I was in another existence. I was on another parallel plane. So I came out, and I found this industrial kind of glove, right? That it was like you could stick it into a steam vent and it wouldn't burn your hand. I put it on, and I kind of picked up, put it through the pot of boiling, lobster bisque, and it's like, yeah. And so basically, I went out there with this big pot, and there were big plates on roly things of other stuff that I had been making along with this, from whatever was Joni had, or I mixed and matched things from the Chinese to the Portuguese, and I made up other stuff. Anyway, but they were all kind of in this baked, this pastry doughy stuff. Anyway. So I kind of rolled out there with this, there's the big bucket and all these other things, and I'm basically either scooping it out with my hand or having a ladle and just, splashing everything everywhere, and everyone's laughing and going, oh, he's getting it on me. And basically I'm naked. I just had this, this kind of, apron on my front, and we're, and so, I feed everyone. I'm just kind of standing there, and they said, sit down. And they kind of, this group kind of made a space for me to sit between them, and I'm sitting there, and this one, well, what do you think it destroys negative space? And, everyone's like talking like that about art, and I am tripping my balls off. I mean, I didn't even take, just a little herb. That was about it, but that cachaça. So I had about 5 glasses of wine, maybe 5 Capa Caprinas, about the size of my thumb, a little glass. I had 4 of those Capa Caprinas, big ones, and I also James some of that brown liquor. So I had quite the mix in me. So plus I was just sweating like a bee. And this woman goes, "How do you do that?" And I go, "How do I do what?" She goes, "How do you sweat like that? What is that, method acting?" And I'm going, and I just went unconscious and went backwards, right? Because we were like sitting on this bench, and just went backwards, like bang onto the floor. And I'm like, right? And my legs are sticking straight up. I look like a dog, right? Right. I'm just like, stuck right there. And nothing really hurt. I just fell backwards. I really didn't bang my head or even. I mean, I did have a little lump back there. Anyway, I'm there, and I no longer have my apron on me. I'm just totally naked with the bunny slippers on. And so they were all stood up and applauded. And it's brilliant. It shows the dichotomy between the poor man and the rich man and the not understood artist. Oh, it's brilliant. And they're all going on and on and on about this. And I'm just like, And so the nondescript gendered creature grabs me by my dreads and drags me out of there butt naked, and boom, 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 up the steps. and throws me into a bedroom, right? Just throws me in there, right? And I go, well, boom, fall on this nice bed, and it's all covered in mink. All these people have mink, not just a little collar, not just little mink, everything. So I kind of roll up in mink because my mom had a fake mink coat, like down to her feet, and I used to roll up in it all the time, watch television. So I just kind of went back to that, rolled up. I emptied every cubic centimeter of my gut, and I still was, sweating like a pig. Anyway, I fall asleep, and all of a sudden I go like this. I wake straight up and I go, I gotta vomit, and I look at the mink. I go, no, no, no. I roll over, open up a dresser drawer, and vomit in the dresser drawer of the bedside table. Close it, right? And then I kind of, and then I get up and go, oh man, I really, So I go in the bathroom. It's this guy's, the brother's thing, and there's his toothbrush, right? Vomity mouth, right? And then the shits happen, and I don't even, it's just all over everything, right? And then I take his nice new towels that his mother gave him with his initials on them, and I cleaned myself. Got in the shower and cleaned myself off, and then shined my real hot shower, then a cold shower, real hot shower, and then I vomited again, and then I basically dried off and crawled underneath the mink stalls again. And the piano is playing downstairs, and everyone's laughing and dancing, and it's a great old time. And bang, the door opens, and I'm like, ugh. And she goes, you spoiled everything. I said, you spoiled it. You spoiled my night. I was gonna be the queen of the ball. Everything was gonna be. You spoiled everything. And so I just turned over, threw a mink coat over me, and she threw clothes at me and says, the party's winding down. We're going to leave in about an hour and a half. Get dressed. And I just fell asleep, right? And then I kind of woke up again, had to vomit, rolled over, vomited in the other bedside table on the side, and, went back to sleep, went and brushed my teeth with another toothbrush, I think his girlfriend's, and then went back into the mink. And so, this person, I'm underneath all this mink, and this person pulls one of the mink coats out, and my head hits the back. That hit me hard, like woke me up, right? And a woman like screams, and a whole bunch of people are at the door, and they're looking in, and I'm naked, covered in mink, right? And they all start applauding like, oh, bravo, bravo, oh, unbelievable. We thought it was over, but this is it. Look, the common man naked, covered in the rich people's excess. Unbelievable. Look at the bathroom. That looks like Deshaun's toilet. I mean, they're going on and on like that. And I'm just like, okay. And so I'm kind of like, I don't feel that bad. I'm kind of drunk. I'm kind of stoned, but I feel pretty good. And I don't have a bad taste in my mouth. No, I don't smell. So I kind of put my clothes on, and I walked out with them, right? And the nondescript gendered entity was over in one of the town cars, because there were a whole bunch of town cars now. And they were all patting me on the back and giving me their business. Come, we need to have lunch. I need to, don't you have your own 501c3? I said, yeah, we got that. And who is that thing? I said, I don't know. I think she's just the person who came and got me. I know Bobby in there, Oh, he's a brilliant guy. Look what he's doing with real estate. It's just, and I said, yeah, he's doing real creative financing. He's a whiz with that. And this guy's like the president of the company. Doesn't know that the guy's like taking the money out of his pocket to buy these properties. I'm sure he's putting it back. But when you do stuff like that, you can have an oops that's never very good. Kind of like Jeffrey, what's his name? That's kind of a similar thing. Anyway, so I'm in the car. We're driving through town, and we're heading towards the tunnel to go to Manhattan to leave New Jersey. And we do. We go. We come right out in the tunnel, right there on Canal Street, and we takes the big turn all the way around. Stops at the light, right at Varick Street, right, which has become Sixth Avenue further uptown in West Village. Anyway, so for all you New Yorkers, so I'm right on the corner. Right there is the Baby Doll Lounge. I think, it was the first titty bar ever made. Like, it was made by Eve. That's what I think. Anyway, so I've rehabbed that. I've rewired, not rehabbed, but there was no. They had peep shows that were made in the 1880s, right? And you put this special coin into the slot, and the window would come down. There's a girl, like, dancing around doing. You put a couple more counts, she'd pick up the phone, she'd talk to you dirty and do stuff, but glass in between, right? So I manufactured those things for Zelf Industries on Worcester Street. Go look that one up on Google. Zelf Industries on Worcester in Soho. This little guy, like a gnome, red hair, and he went bald, so he had plugs put in, so he had these red plugs. It was very. Anyway, so there's the Baby Doll Lounge right in the corner, and I just bang right out of the door. Just come back here, and I don't even listen, don't even care. Just please, and there are the girls with their arms open. Ow, come on in, let's have some fun, blah blah blah. So I do. Right? So that's part one of the story of getting drunk. Right? That's one of the times, just one of the times I got drunk. The second and only other time I got drunk, again, I was, in my loft, this time in lower Manhattan, kind of near Chinatown. And I had really, right off of East Broadway, I had a really nice loft, kind of Broadway and the Bowery. Anyway, I think Richard Serra bought that place from me. I mean, not bought the key. I mean, I didn't own anything in New York. Didn't have the kind of liquidity to do that, right? A couple of times, I almost like cashed everything in and bought a building that I knew would be $1 zillion location. But I said to myself, if I do this, I will have to do this for the rest of my life. I won't be an artist, won't be a curator, won't be an art party ringleader, won't be none of the above. I'll be a businessman, and I'll have to buy another building like that. But I will, because I have equity in that thing. I can buy another one and another one and another one. And as like Warren Buffett says, buy, borrow, die. I didn't want to do that. So anyway, I didn't. I just was the dude, right? And I never had to worry about money. Whatever I needed, bang, I get a job, a gig, a this, a that. Somebody just give me some money, I was never, God was always watching out for me, because I was always, no matter, I'm at the titty bar, not a problem, right? So anyway, I'm a number of years later, a friend of mine who's having some problems, he's married, he's like me, and nobody's like me. He's an artist doing whatever, right? Plumbing, painting, sanding floors for the rich, right? And doing that, hoping that by doing that, he'll ingratiate that rich person will come down to his studio and say, "Oh, you're a brilliant painter. Let me buy that for $1,000." Well, that has happened many, many times. I have a good friend, Basquiat. Good, he was like living on the street. Then he was living in my closet. Then he was a millionaire, right? Another one is Julian Schnabel. He was, sleeping in a corner of my loft, but he came from money. A friend of mine said, "Oh, my buddy, his son's, or somebody in his family's coming to New York to be an artist. He just, he's pretty good. He went to art school. He was here. He was there, and he wants to make it in New York." I said, "Okay." Anyway, so I had a lot of that, but I didn't need anything else. I didn't need to be Julian Schnabel, because I was me. Julian Schnabel was always trying to. I remember when we go, he'd like try to dress up like me, or not. No, he wouldn't. No, he was too neat of a guy. Even as in his slob times, he was. Woo. Anyway, because that's where he came from. So anyway, I'm in this loft. This guy comes and knocks, boom, boom, boom. I'm having a hard time. Can I sit here and talk to you on the couch? My old lady's giving me a hard time, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. Well, he's going on and on. I'm sleeping. And then she comes in, and they start arguing, and I wake up. And then I kind of do my shrinky, you know, couples therapy. And, you know, they go, let's go in. And they're drunks. They're alcoholics. And there was no, I said, you have no alcohol here? I said, no, 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 no. So I say, go, well, come with us, right? And I had no food, and they had some food in their fridge, and they said, you can cook it up. So I'm in there kind of cooking. And again, it's a time I'm not feeling that good, right? So I get into their place, and I make up, whatever they have. I just put it in their frying pan, fry it up, crack some eggs on it, put some cheese on top of it, and yum, yum, right? And they had some nice black bread and some good butter. What more do you need? So I make a big pot of ginger tea to spunk me up. So I'm kind of drinking that, and I'm like going through blah 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 blah, and they had Remy Martin. That's what they drank. And I don't know if you've ever seen any of those very strange midnight swim things on Comedy Central back in the day. But there was this one thing where it was very strange, kind of. Not live, but a filmed TV show, like I Love Lucy, but weirder than weirder, right? Like Father's Knows Best meets I Love Lucy doing fentanyl and crack cocaine. Just put that in your mind. And so that's the TV show it was. And so, and that's what these people were like, like that show. So anyway, I'm drinking the Remy Martin. I'm not feeling that good, but I'm taking a ginger tea that's making me feel better, so I'm drinking more. So anyway, after by 3 or 4 hours of them going on and on and on and on and on, just like that TV show, it no longer was humorous to me, and I got up real fast, and I projectile vomited all over them. Just, and I went in a round circle, like, everything within 30 feet of me was covered in my vomit. And then they started screaming at each other, like, you brought him here, blah, 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 blah. And I just fell to the floor. Did they say, are you okay? No. I crawled over to a corner where they had their clean clothes, and I, fell asleep amongst their clean clothes. And then, about, 3 in the morning, I said, oh. And I basically got up and felt it coming, lowered my pants, and relieved myself of everything I had for the last week, and in a chocolatey, Hennessy, Remy Martin kind of look. It was like the pièce de résistance to the TV show. And I went in, took a shower, put some of their clothes on, and walked out of their house, right? I went, we're in the same building, but I have other places. That's just one. I'm like, I would find these lofts that between 1968 and 1978, there were different neighborhoods that had big, big loft buildings. Most people didn't even know they were there. I would look up who owned them, say, hey, you want to rent out a couple of your floors? Yeah. And, I said, I'll take 3 of your 15,000 square foot floors for $1,000 a month for the next 10 years. Great, right? Because that since 70s was kind of down to the low end, except people with money. That place was on Chambers Street and went from Chambers to, I think, to Wayne, whatever the next street was, right? It was like a whole block. The thing was a whole block, right? 3 floors, right? And they all, every side had a window, right? So you could slice the thing up pretty good, and still everyone would get a window. I mean, I made lofts for people that there were no windows, Anyway, those are the 2 times I ever got drunk in my whole life, right? Period. Because after them, and it was really good because those people, they were so incensed with what I did, not just the couple, but the unexplained gendered existence of whatever that is. They have nothing to do with me, right? which was great. I didn't want anything to stop talking to me, get away from me. So it was great. They, if I went into some place they were, they would leave. That was great. Like it would make a statement. I'm leaving because Al is here. It was great. Everyone, thanks, Al, for coming. We called you 10 minutes ago just to get rid of them. Anyway, so those were the 2 times I got drunk. And after that, I said, obviously, alcohol and me is not the best friends. And yes, each time I went through a inordinate amount of it, right, to get to that state. But still, so I made a vow, as I have done through my life, and that vow was I would never have any more than 2 shot glasses of alcohol in a day, no more than that, and no more than 4 of those shot glasses, 4 in a week, right? So that was it. So I, because I was still in New York, I still was going out. I was in lots of clubs. People constantly buying me a drink, and the bartenders behind there knew. Oh, Al's here. He's just here. Oh, I'll give him a shot glass of Patty's because I always had that for me, and then they'd be just giving me, ginger ale with a lemon. So anyway, that's kind of how and everyone else get drunker and drunker. I just had my ginger ale, and it worked out quite nicely. So I know that alcohol in excess is not good for me or anyone else. Like when I was a policeman, I saw a lot of people do some pretty stupid things on alcohol. So anyway, so that's why I don't drink. But when I described this story to my friend who's a pickup truck, remember this, an hour and a half ago, my friend driving me to the Chinese restaurant, the buffet. It's not a restaurant, it's a buffet. Anyway, that's what it's not a restaurant, it's a buffet. Okay. So I told him that story, and he was howling, and he was in misery at the same time. And so it just like went past his reset button, and he thought it was great. He goes, "Oh wow!" Anyway, so because we were talking about excess and all that kind of stuff, and neither of us are guys that do that, and we've been around it a good deal. His in his own way, and me, Mr. the Dude in urban cultural, being the cultural provocateur and the art party ringleader. Yeah, you could be a real lush if you were doing that. Anyway, so how many? 82 minutes and 23 seconds. Okay. So, but anyone been saying anything interesting, really? Let's see. Makes sense. The New World, yes. What's the sun donger? Got that. Pick. I had a terrible accident last night. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's for our friend here. Father, hear our prayer. Our friend here who got into a terrible accident. Watch out for them. Save them, protect them, heal them, whatever they need. You are their medicine. He loves co-creation. Hey, let's see. I hate it when the device takes over. And all you guys who send me these cute little sunny faces, I love you. Today is my birthday. Okay, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Let yourself remember on this day, it is just like every morning you wake up, you should sing happy birthday, 'cause I'm alive. Thank you, Jesus, for forgiving me all the stupid stuff I do. And God, thanks for the unconditional love. I couldn't get through this without you, right? So that's my happy birthday to all of you. who are having a birthday, and all you who are going to have one tomorrow and the day after. Today is my birthday. Yep. Happy, 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 happy birthday to you. Facts, facts, facts. Anyway. So, kids, what do you think about that? Alcohol, excess, and like I said, in the 11 years that I was working for the desperate corporate lawyers, and these guys, I mean, they'd spend 10 grand a day, just lunch and fooling around and doing stuff, right? And then they spend God knows whatever else when they bought shit and did stuff like that, right? One reason I was pretty successful with money is that I never spent money I did not have, period. When I bought real estate, I didn't have it, meaning being liquid, meaning I may not be able to get to, 60 grand right here, right now, but the bank has it and they know that I got it and they'd be happy to lend it to me. And all of my buyings of real estate, not all, but I bought some real estate after the 86 collapse and into the bubble collapse, which actually kept certain real estate costs really way down. Well, mortgaging in certain areas, right? Not in the areas that collapsed, but the other areas that were still kind of there. So I could see that, know that, because I was, being the itinerant scholar, I had access to a lot of information. It wasn't like I was doing, not like, Madame Pelosi or someone in Donnie's rubber room basically made $1 trillion the other day when he bet the certain stock would go down, not up. And then he knew this because Donnie was going to have a little tete-a-tete with Z, and this other stock would go through the roof because of it, which would cause the other stock that no one's really looking at collapse. And he put 108, whoever it was, one of those chocolates, they did it through the server of the White House. Really. I mean, these guys had, really. So that's like public information. So somebody, they didn't get his, ID, but it wouldn't be too hard to figure that one out. But he borrowed $186 million from the federal government, and then put it into the stock market and did a put, a betting on that this stock will go down. He made, or it made, or whoever made $1.3 trillion. That's making America great again. I love it, baby. I love it. Right. And the poor farmers are getting their ass kicked. They won't exist. They don't realize. See, if you're farming in America now, you have a lot of money. You have land that's worth something. Companies and people will lend you money and stuff until they want it back, right? And then you're gone. So that's what's going to happen to the 18,000 large family corporation farms, right? And they'll all be bought up by Monsanto and Bayer and Cargill and the other two guys. And that'll be it. There'll be 7 people who will control all food on the planet. Sounds like fun, don't you think? There won't be a farmer there. I mean, they might start, digging up people's backyard gardens. But anyway, that's the world we're looking at. Ooh, and most of the people I worked in the corporate world were more out to lunch. If you were to take what I was doing at the alternating current gender wheel thing, brother, his place, his job, those people, right, and me, put them together and put them in a blender and get that. That's crazy. Well, today, what they're doing today makes what I did that night in Hoboken, New Jersey, look like Mary Poppins. The hills are alive with the sound of indulgence. La 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 la. Anyway, damage report. Republicans, yeah. Oh yeah. I wonder what the it's over Zora Mandingo swearing in prevention. Anyway, here I'm back. Can you see me and hear me? Can you hear me now? Audience. So I've been doing this now for, is that 90 minutes and 17 seconds. Let's go for 100 at least. So, you guys aren't saying much. I just told you a long story about indulgence, which should give you guys a lot of opportunity to make comments about indulgence, because that's something that humans do really good, unless they plug themselves into love's co-creation. When you're thinking about that more than the indulgence, more than jerking off, more than smoking that joint, more than shooting that needle, more than eating that hot dog or that little Debbie, because all that shit's going to do is kill you. Not death, kill you. What does killing you mean, you ask? Double doctor, Sensie Owl Bob. I'll tell you what killing you is. It's called sin. Because when the Ten Commandments, you read all those Ten Commandments, they're like probably another, like in the, Monty Python, The Life of Brian, when he's coming down and Moses drops, he got 20 commandments and he drops 2 of the tablets, and so he's now only got 10. So anyway, but they all basically say that when you stop thinking about God, well, we have this covenant. When you stop having the covenant, that's when you're sinning. Not when you're fucking, not when you're jerking off, not when you're stealing or cheating or lying or any of that stuff. If you do it and that isn't your God, But to lie, cheat, steal, and do all that other stuff, pretty much you have to forget about love's co-creation. Because if you were thinking about love's co-creation, you wouldn't steal anything. You wouldn't lie, you wouldn't cheat. Because you would realize immediately that there's no upside to lying, cheating, stealing. That's why our culture is as off the tracks as it is, because everyone is pretty much lying, cheating, stealing on some level. Unless, and see, the whole thing is, the real sin of it isn't, I remember being in this really almost unbelievable, it was called hedonism, And so, there the girls are, and they're flagellating me and peeling grapes and doing, things that only see on your cell phone. And anyway, so it's right all there, and I'm, got a cocktail in my hand and a blunt in the other, and I'm looking at everybody else, and they're way more trashed than I am. I'm not even trashed, I'm down, at this point. Yes, I eat a lot. I'm really overweight, but I'm not getting drunk. I'm not doing drugs. I'm not doing any of that. My thing is food, because these guys go to the best restaurants, and they eat the food like they were at a cafeteria in grade school, right? It's like, and I'm like, they're all done, ready to go to the club or whatever, and I'm still like I'm still eating the salad, So, and I say, oh, you guys go on and send the car back for me. You guys go have a good time there. I'll be there soon, right? And the owner would come out, and we talk about food and, this, that, and the other thing, because I was a foodie. I was, had a lot of foodie girlfriends who had restaurants, Food was one of them, the 2 girls, the 2 Jewish sisters. I forget their names. Really, really nice. Their father was really rich, and up there in Westchester, right? The Hasidim up there in Westchester. And these girls were just too much for the Hasidim. So he just got him a condo downtown in a nice, safe part of the upper middle west side, right kind of near Lincoln Center. They could just jump on the subway, bang, and let you right off near their restaurant on Spring Street, right there, bang, the subway, right there. It was like made for their restaurant, right? And they bought this old restaurant that had been a a workers' bar restaurant. All the workers would have their lunch there, and they made it. They were great bakers and soup makers, and they had unbelievable cakes, cookies, amazing coffee, amazing soups, and they cook 3 or 4 turkeys, real turkeys. So you have real freshly cooked turkey sandwich, right, with sauce and cranberry stuff on it, and they had a brother who was like a tourist guide. So he started tours. Forget Paris. He got a bus and he was bringing, you know, housewives from Westchester to come see Soho, right? And we were the artists down the other side of the window. And every now and then, I mean, if I was there having lunch, and the bus would come and he'd unload the girls, and those ladies would spend $3,000 just for lunch. It'd be like 20 ladies, and they'd get everything and stay there and buy more stuff, and then get stuff in boxes. Oh, this plate is so good. Oh, how much do those cakes cost? $100. Oh, I'll take two. And that's their little brother did that for them. So anyway, I remember one time I'm having lunch there, and I used to love eating. They wouldn't use the turkey legs. Didn't quite fit their foodie standard for sandwiches. The white meat was fit into their everything there. Anyway, so I'd be there chomping away at everything, and he came in and he's having lunch with me, and we're drinking coffee and eating the black and white cookies. And he goes, "Al, what are you doing right now?" And I said, "I don't know, really nothing. I don't have anything on my slate. I have no, my crews are already out there doing stuff, and I'm just going to hang here." He goes, "How'd you like to make $1,000?" I said, "Benjamins?" And he goes, "Yep." I said, "Okay, what do I got to do?" He goes, "When the ladies are done, the guy who was supposed to be the tour guy, the artiste, he just didn't show up. I called him and called him. Nope, nope, nope. So I am getting sort of 20 women, right? And they were all paying him $3,500 for this tour. And they wanted to like ride around, not just that, see everything. And then it was still a nice spring day, you know, have the tour guide walk them through all of it, like Soho, West Village, East Village. Well, he says, "You're the guy. I mean, you know everybody. No one's going to hurt these people. No one would steal from them or rob them or any of that." I said, "They were just going to stay in the bus, but you can well, it's a beautiful day. And you can do that." These women are like the hotsy-totsies, and they were spread the word, and I will. That's why I'm paying you $1,000. Do I see you tell stories? I see you do all this stuff. Do your thing. I did. So we drove around that, and we kind of went over to the corner of where the East River is, a beautiful park there. And I had the girls make up thermoses, big thermoses. They had that kind of Russian/Ukrainian tea, very sweet, kind of very aromatic, almost Turkish. Anyway, and boxes of things. So we had driven around a good half an hour all over, like from up edge of the West Village, all the way down, down into Tribeca, and then over to Chinatown, and then we kind of went all the way down to where West Street meets Pearl. And again, there's really nice little walk thing. It's like right where the Staten Island Ferry is. So we get on the Staten Island Ferry. We take a ride over there. We eat the cookies and drink the tea. And then we go back up on West Street and get off at that other park, which is a really great park. No one ever goes to it. It's beautiful. It's right on the East River. It's right where the East River kind of makes that little bend into Brooklyn, and it narrows. It's no longer the big open, Hudson's over there, East River's over here, and Statue of Liberty's over there. Anyway, so we're at that park, and you can see all that stuff, and it's still a beautiful, warm day, and the girls are all taking pictures with the Statue of Liberty behind them and eating what's left of the black and white cookies and just saying what a great time, and I'm reading their palms and adjusting their feet, and, putting it all on, and, we get back in the bus and drive them, I think we went to, I always forget the name of the house, the really ritzy hotel right on Central Park. It's not the, you know, there's 3 or 4 of them there, but this is one takes up that whole corner. Has a big fountain in front of it. At the They have the Oak Room and the Tiki Bar in it. So anyway, and that's where we get off because they had down in the Oak Room they were going to have a nice little supper, right? And that's I kind of went down with them and had a look. I saw George. He's the maitre d' of that. He knew me. I knew him. Anyway, and the girls were all, you know everybody. So it was really, and they were all ladies between the age of like 46 and 75 with a lot of money, right? So anyway, that was a little trip there, kids. A little smorgasbord of your Sensie Owl Bob's life right there, right? And that's so I've been in all these different places right at the perfect time. That was my nickname, perfect time. And I played that for a long time until I realized I should stop being. Once I kind of had a real business, and had employees and stuff like that. When I was just like the artist, electrician, mystic, therapist, itinerant scholar, that was one thing to be. And I would get there just in the nick of time, take care of it, and everyone, he saved the day. Meaning, I always want to put a little excitement into the situation, but only if I knew I could take care of it, right? But there's sometimes you just can't take care of it. Anyway, once I got a real business and was like mature, like 32 years old, I was more like on the dot all the frigging time. I was there, right? And I would tell them, I'm going to get here at such a, when do you want me there? Okay? I'll be there 20 minutes before, right? Okay? And I'll be scoping out everything. And I will tell you what it's going to be when you get there. I won't say, I'll have to think about this, or I'll have to go home. I'll have it all done, right? Ready for it, right there. And you get there, right? I'll be there. I'll look it over, right? And then you give me the money, I'll start right there, right? And it'll be on time, on budget, period. You got to really, got to do it today, no problem. So that went a long way to having a really good business. That kind of personal service. But I didn't do that for everybody. I would do it for anybody who I saw that really needed it and I had the time and I could take care of them. And then I'd say, how much is that going to cost? And I go, nothing, right? So I do that. And the other people who were ridiculously rich, who wanted you to charge even more than you were going to charge them, those were the guys I serviced like that. Anyway, going what? Watching the supply chain, working my way to money tree. Yeah, well, okay. Makes sense to me. The new world, yeah, That was a while ago. Anyway, what's the sundong? I don't know. He got that pick. PVC, yep. Boo. Loves co-creation, yep. And all these other people put all these numbers and stuff, and I have no idea what the heck that all means. Today is my birthday. Are we saying happy birthday to you? Anyway, so, we're 103 minutes and 18 seconds. Boy, isn't it fun when time speeds up like that? All right. Okay. Well, I'm going to leave. And maybe I'll see you tomorrow. Maybe I won't. It all depends on. I had to walk a mile and a half, and the sun's going down. I want to walk in the sun, not in the dark. Oh, who's there? Thomas released a new novel. It will really be his best. Everyone should read. Who? Thomas Pynchon. Oh, that guy. Okay. Everyone should read it. Is that a bot? Or did you read the book? Tell me why I should read this. Right? I don't think they are. But, shouldn't you pay me money when you do things like that? I don't know. No, I don't need money. I get my money from God. right? And not like, I seen the terrible. No, not like that guy. Not whatever his name was. Larry. Larry TV God Guy. And for $1,000, we'll send you a prayer cloth. It's in Milwaukee, which is unique. Yeah, isn't Milwaukee where Louise and Sweetie were? What was that TV show? They were cousins of the Fonz. Milwaukee, which is unique. Every place is unique. Anyway, Hungarian Nor. Yep. Okay, gang. I'll catch you guys later.